Welcome to I Said What I Said. I'm Brad 𝐃𝐨𝐬. That's Tyson Gentry. And Tyson, we are here, man. 4 teams in the Final Four. 4 teams going to San Antonio. It are the 4 best teams in the country. Some people are up in arms. I am absolutely excited by this. This is something we both thought were going to happen. We're not saying we're special here because I think just about half the world had all 4 number 1 seeds coming out of the Elite Eight and into the Final Four before the bracket or when the bracket was released. But that's what we got, Tyson. I'm excited for it. How are you feeling about it?
Oh, dude, I'm pumped. Like, I am juiced. I think that we're going to hear a lot. This has the potential to be a classic. This has the potential to be a classic. We'll figure it out on the hardwood once they go play because, some of these teams haven't looked quite as dominant as others getting to the Final Four. But all season long, these were not all season. I mean, Florida most of the season long, these have been the 4 best teams. They're 4 of the best teams we've ever seen in college basketball. Like in a normal year, like you're looking at Auburn and you're going, oh, they're going to run over the field right now. And we were all just trying to find a spot. So one of these 1 seeds has to lose. Well, I think it's going to be Houston first because they draw Gonzaga in the second round. That's a tough game. Or I think it's going to be Auburn because like they're going to have to play Louisville in Lexington and all of this stuff. Dude, turns out that when you have the best players, you can push this thing pretty far.
Yeah, and we have the prompt here, best Final Four ever. That's the theme that a lot of people are saying. It's only the second time in the history that there have been all 4 number 1 seeds. You've heard this ad nauseum. First time since 2008, only the second time ever. Also, that Final Four took place in San Antonio. Maybe it's something whenever San Antonio's got the rotation. But if you look at KenPom, Tyson, this is the argument on paper. This is the best Final Four we've ever had because this Duke team is second in the KenPom rating at a plus 39.6.
Since 1996, 1997, like ever in KenPom.
Yes, thank you. Right. So, and that only dates back to then. So maybe, right, in the 80s, maybe it changes. So this is just KenPom analytical data. So that's good clarity there. This Houston team, 6th all-time in KenPom rating, plus 36.5. Florida, 8th, plus 36. And then this Auburn team is 10th, plus 35.2. So this gives you an idea about how good these teams are. The UConn team from last year was a plus 36.4. So both Duke and Houston per KenPom are better than that UConn team, which ran roughshod over college basketball in the tournament. So just keep that in mind when we're talking about this type of stuff.
Yeah, it's rare to get to this point. And then you have a team like Duke, and we'll talk about them. We're going to do a different episode later on in the week where we kind of break down the games a little bit more and give out picks and all that stuff. But like Duke's got a bunch of pros on it, right? And like how many pros does Houston have on the roster right now? Or how many pros does Florida really have on the roster right now? Or Auburn's got pros, and it's a fun little juxtaposition here between the transfer portal ruined college basketball because now all the good players are on one team. Some of these guys are – Johni Broome is filing AARP. Walter Clayton is 37 years old. Like, this is just what it is at this point. But, like, Duke is led by the freshman phenom, Cooper Flagg. Auburn is led by Johni Broome, who's been in college for 5 years. Walter Clayton in Florida has been around forever. This group of guys at Houston has been playing together for a long time. And so it's a pick your poison kind of deal. If you thought that the one-and-done era was going to kill college basketball, then you don't want Duke to win. But if you think the transfer portal will kill college basketball, then you have 3 other teams or 2 other teams that you don't want to win. And then if you think Kelvin Sampson's a fraud, then that just eliminates Houston. But it's got everything you could ask for. And as far as being the best Final Four ever, I just line it up. Like, I think that these teams are they can say that for sure.
Yeah, I think whoever wins this, and I'm hoping it's Duke, that my favorite team. I'm not wearing a Duke representation because I haven't on any of the shows. I'm trying not to jinx it. Tyson, I'm very superstitious. I wear the same shirt for every single game. Don't wash it until the tournament's over, until they win. And if they win, because it's got all 5 banners, they win the 6th one, I'm going to retire it into a cutoff. And that's just going to be a wear-around thing. So I'm hoping I can pass the torch because that thing is getting beat up. That thing is getting beat up for sure. But I think, Tyson, the funny thing is, if you hate Duke, and a lot of people do, you should actually be rooting for Duke if you're a hater of the transfer portal and all that stuff. Because let's go through it. Duke is led, like you said, by Cooper Flagg, by the freshman Kamon Malawach, and Con Knippel, right? Like those are the 3 faces. And you got Sion James as a starter transferred in from Tulane, but he's not really doing much where you're like, oh, yeah, that's the face of Duke. It's the 3 freshmen. It's recruiting. It's traditional stuff. Like you said, Auburn, their 2 leading scorers, transfers. You have Chad Baker-Mazara coming over from San Diego State, and then Johni Broome coming over from the mid-major, right? And then Florida, Walter Clayton came from Iona. And even Houston, Tyson, like they got a bunch of transfer guys.
True.
LJ Cryer, originally at Baylor, and then Kelvin Sampson kind of brings him over with some older guys, and they transfer in, and that's the team here. They've been playing together for a while, but they're transferred. They're not necessarily homegrown people. So I think if you're looking for a team like, I hate this new era, it's Duke. So you're going to have to jump on board. The other thing, Tyson, and I want to throw this back to you. We talked about this before we jumped on. All of a sudden, everybody thinks this Duke team is a juggernaut. and before it was like, well, they play in the ACC. I don't know how good they are. Oh, Auburn's just, I mean, they've been running. Oh, my God, you see what Florida just did in the SEC tournament. Now, all of a sudden, everybody now they're sitting there is like, I just don't know if anybody can beat Duke. That is scaring me as a Duke fan. Are they too good to overcome that public perception, that public jinx, that public mush, if you will? Or, and again, we're going to preview this stuff, or is it destined to be ending in the Final Four against Houston?
We will talk about that at a later date. But what I will say is that like this Duke team they're crazy. Like it's the length, the athleticism. We're going to hear a ton, and you guys are going to hear a bunch over the next week of just how big and tall Duke is, like, especially compared to Houston, who doesn't really go above 6'8". Wingspans matter, right? Houston is crazy long, and they're going to be able to affect a bunch of stuff. I mean, they just allowed 15 points in the first half to a pretty athletic, pretty big Tennessee team, and so I think Houston will give them a fight. But part of it, dude, is this is like the least hateable Duke team ever.
I think Shire, people are loving Shire, and just like you kind of hated him when he was a player, but he never panned out in the NBA, partly not because of his fault, because Joe Ingles shoved his thumb in his eye on accident, and it didn't really work. And you're starting to hear these cool stories from Pat Bev, and it's like, oh man, maybe Shire isn't so bad. Cooper Flagg, I think he's just so good that it's hard to hate him. Now Leitner was that way too, but he just did stuff that you hated him, right? Like that was like the first thing you really looked at Duke, and you're like, God, this guy sucks. And then ever since then, it was like all the white guys at Duke, you just found reasons to hate him, right? Like, and then Flagg is the first one. It's like, oh my God, I mean, he's just transcendent. Like, it's just hard to really hate this guy.
Well, he's not complaining, right? Like he gets poked in the eye or whatever, and then he's back in the game, and he talks a bunch. I think that he doesn't quite get enough. Flack might not be the right word, but it's like. For a white guy leading Duke, you think that would be the thing people are pointing at, like, oh, this guy just talks a bunch of smack. But when you're putting up 37, 7, and 6 or whatever, and then your off game is he had 16 and 8 or whatever against Alabama, the team wins by 20. I mean that stuff, and then like you're not gonna be mad at Tyrese Proctor for what? Like Malin Watch for what? They're not doing anything. If you had to hate one, it'd probably be Knippel, but the guy looks like he's from the 1950s, so that's just is what it is.
It's like a throwback, and he's not like super athletic too. He just plays downhill. You're like, oh, I can see that. Yeah, no, it is an interesting. It's an interesting persona around this Duke team. I mean, now it just feels like there's less hate. I don't think people would be pissed if they won. And honestly, Tyson, I wonder how much of the Duke hate is actually Duke, or if it was Coach K for some reason. I know, like Duke fans, we're kind of in our bubble. Like, how can you hate Coach K? People, I think, come up with just ridiculous reasons to hate him. And I don't want to go on a complete tangent on this thing, but I mean, I know people do have reasons to not like Coach K, but I'm wondering how much of the hate for Duke is going to be created if this success keeps running for John Shire. And it's like, oh my God, this evil empire keeps running. Or if it kind of dies off, it's like, maybe it wasn't just the Duke thing we didn't like. It was more of the coach. I don't know. I'm curious to see that.
Let's see once we get the Boozer twins on campus and all that stuff, then we'll find out for sure. But like across the board, it's like, how are you really going to hate on this Houston team? They've been snake bitten the last few NCAA tournaments. I think Kelvin Sampson, to me, is an easy guy to root for. I know there's a bunch of people out there that don't really like themselves from Kelvin Sampson, but like this is a team that's been around the block, and they lost to Duke a year ago because their all-world point guard rolls his ankle. Guys are playing out of position, and Filipowski and the boys got him out of there, and that was really good. So there's a revenge angle there for Houston. With Florida, it's like we don't know enough about Golden to be like, I hate this guy. Walter Clayton Jr. is you've heard it a million times. He's the best closer in college basketball. And they kept saying it. And then all of a sudden they're down 9 with 3 minutes left. Who got the ball? Who put the ball in the hoop? Right. That's what he does. And that's what this Florida team does. And then with Auburn, it's like, I can't bring myself to hate Bruce Pearl. Like it's just, I love the guy. And so I'm cheering for all of these teams, irrespective of conference, jersey, any of that kind of stuff. But it is rare to get to this point without a villain, man.
I know. And I mean, we have a little soft spot for 𝐾𝐿Vin Sampson because he coached at Montana Tech. You know what I mean? Like, Pioneer basketball, come on, man. That's in our backyard a little bit here. So, 𝐾𝐿Vin Sampson, always a guy that we're looking at is like, one of us. But I'm with you, man. I mean, obviously, I got to root against Houston. I got to root against anybody who's coming on that other side. We'll do more of a preview as we get into it, really like break down some X's and O's, what we think. It should be a fun one so we get prepared, give out some game picks, give out some gambling picks, how we're going to play it. But how did we get here? Let's kind of circle back. Let's kind of get to this point, because looking at the Final Four, and we'll go out, right? Like this Duke team, there were questions about Duke coming in. Like I said, oh, well, the ACC, and then they just ran rampant over everybody, dominated people to get here. It's been their defense. It's been really good coaching. It's been offense and their shooting. So they haven't necessarily had the path. It's the other side that has been a question mark. I mean, Auburn looked lost at times early, or they at least compared to what their old version was. Now they've had wins where they're like, okay, that looks like the old Auburn team, specifically when they closed against Michigan and how they looked against Michigan State. And then Florida, they're lucky to even be here. I think that's what we're overlooking twice, right? The UConn, you completely blew that game, but Florida was better and they closed. And then against Texas Tech, Florida should have lost that game. That was nothing more than Texas Tech being inept at the end of a basketball game. Honestly, they kind of pulled the victory out of the jaws of defeat against Arkansas. Was that the basketball gods coming back to bite them? I think a little bit of that. It's like, guys, we gave you one. We're not going to give you two here. Maybe that comes back to bite Florida. I'm not quite sure. But I think that side of the bracket has more question marks about how they've gotten here. But Tyson, it's a new season, right? Like, we're in the Final Four. Let's kind of forget. But it does feel like there are more question marks about Auburn and Florida getting to this point than the other side, especially when you look at how Houston dominated Tennessee, how they dominated Gonzaga, and then how Duke just dominated everybody else. That's kind of my broad picture is how we've got here in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's accurate. I will say, though, like when we did the preview, like when we were doing this election show on live, when that came out, I literally said, like, Duke's walking to the Final Four. They're not getting challenged in this quadrant, and that's the way it played out. But, like, Houston ends up, you get an underseeded Gonzaga team, and then you're playing basically a road game with Purdue, and then you're playing another road game essentially against Tennessee, and they handle their business. With Florida, this is what we know about them, dude. Like, they're going to do what they're going to do, and it's on you to stop it. Like, Texas Tech should have won the game. Texas Tech missed the front end of 2 1-and-1s, which resulted in Florida 3-pointers, and all of a sudden they win the game. And that's just what they do to people. That's what they've done to people all year long. Auburn, I think, you wouldn't have been outside of your mind, a team that lost 3 out of the last 4 coming into this thing, to say, oh, they're in trouble if they match up against Michigan or even UC San Diego or whoever, like whatever, you had there. And they're down 9 in that game. And then the flip switched, and it was like, oh, that's the team that was number 1 for like the majority of this season. And then I was really impressed with their ability to just play through the bigs against Michigan State. That's why I wanted to watch that game so badly, is like, okay, you guys are struggling with the 3 guards from Florida. Let's see how you handle really 4 guards from Michigan State in the way that they want to play. And they pass that test of flying colors. Broom goes out, they're up 10. Broom comes back, they're up 10, right? And so it wasn't just the Janai Broom game, even though he was awesome. But I think all of these guys have shown, hey, we're a little bit more than just our superstars. And like that was evident in the Duke-Alabama game, because – look, man, Flag has been awesome this whole time, but it was like, hey, when everybody else makes shots, they can turn a team that just scored 130 into an average offense, a 65-point offense. And that's the scary part. And that's defense got one half here, like with Duke and Houston. I think that you're going to hear a bunch about Houston as the number 1 defense in the country, and they do, and all this stuff. Let's see how it plays out, because this Duke defense is crazy. And then on the flip side, it's like, hey, ball goes in hoop, and we're better at that than you. And then that's kind of how we got here. And the SEC dominance has been crazy.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking through, and I'm looking for some other stuff here, Tyson, as we kind of broaden out. I think Michigan, that's scary what they got going on. I mean, Dusty May's a really good coach, and the first year to do this, and we'll see kind of how the recruiting ends up there. I think he's just a little bit more – he's able to handle this coaching thing a little bit better than Juwan Howard. We'll see how the recruiting angle does here, but I think there's just more consistency. That'll be good. And in Arbor, Tyson, I'm curious to see how long Tom Izzo stays around. He's talking about, oh, well, this team was the tightest I've had in a while. Literally day later, Holloman puts his name in the portal. It's like, what's going on? I can picture him saying, I don't know why I'm doing this anymore. So that's something I want to keep an eye on, because then if that job opens, we could have some more coaching carousel. But I thought they did good. We already have that with Maryland. What happens there? Buzz Williams takes that job. Kevin Ward goes to Villanova. So as we're kind of going through,
Buzz has to be the rebuild. Buzzball has to be rebuilt. Like, he's going to be somewhere for 6 years. He's going to set you on the right track, and then he's dipping out.
Is it going to be a rebuild at Maryland? Like, that's, I mean, I think from like an organizational standpoint, because they don't even have an AD.
Yeah, culture reset maybe is better.
Culture reset. Yeah, I'm curious because, well, Queen's probably gone and Reese is gone. So, yeah, I guess by that standards, yeah, you're going to, because people are going to decommit all that. So I guess, yeah, he's like, all right, sweet, I got to rebuild again. I'm going to do it at Maryland. You're right. But it's just, Drake, they got a new coach now. I mean, I'm just going through this, Tyson. It's McNeese after they pulled things off. It is it's interesting if you kind of like broaden out and we talk about some of the teams that did well here in the tournament. It's like, oh, okay, well, these teams have to restart. Oh, those coaches are going somewhere different and climbing the ladder.
Yeah, and then on like the flip, do you want to get into like the surprises of the tournament, the disappointments, and all of that?
Yeah, I think let me do one kind of more broad thought, and then I'm curious about your big surprise. But like people are talking about this, like, oh, well, the Cinderellas and things like that, and we haven't had it. Tyson, the ratings have been off the charts here. I know people are
because the games have been good.
Because the games have been good, and we're not supposed to be like, well, actually, like TV ratings are the only thing that matters. Because like, listen. The box office stuff, like when Marvel was going crazy, those movies sucked, people. Like, come on, quit lying to yourself. And the little indies that are actually like good stuff and it's original, those are like good things. So I'm not saying like whatever the masses like, oh, that's what's happening here. But the fact that there's a resurgence of college basketball, and it's at a time when interest in the NBA is down, and you can point to, well, maybe just people don't like basketball. Well, WNBA interest is up through the roof, and I think probably 𝐃𝐨𝐴 is a huge catalyst to that. But college basketball interest is skyrocketing in this tournament, and I don't think it's a coincidence. Like everybody says, well, nobody's watching this tournament because there's no Cinderellas. It's the complete opposite. That's not what's happening. People are into this tournament, and people are into college basketball right now. And so I'm curious to see kind of what happens going forward if this is the norm. All of a sudden, are we talking about, oh, we love college basketball because we're getting these super teams, we're getting these people who have been around for a long time, because NIL maybe convinces people to stay for an extra year instead of going to the NBA where they get buried. And what happens that going forward? So this, to me, Tyson, is an encouraging sign for college basketball, what we're getting in this tournament.
No, I'm with you. I think that it's wait till next year to see if trends are extended or bucked. Like, you can't judge something off of this season where you just ran through the fact that 4 of the 10 best teams since 1996, the year I was born, are currently playing at the same time, and we get a chance to see them play each other. Like, if you don't like that, you don't like the tournament, you don't like college basketball, you like the storyline and the drama, and that's fine. And there's places, like there's a place for you most Marches. It's just that this one was always going to end up this way, and if you thought differently, you probably just weren't paying attention.
Biggest surprise. I'm throwing it to you. What was your biggest surprise of the NCAA tournament? Could be an upset, which we didn't have a ton of. It could be, oh, this team looked dominant. Could be a coach thing. What was your biggest surprise that you want to point to? And we'll kind of go through that.
So I think that for biggest surprise, it'd be easy to say Arkansas, but I'm going to save kind of what they did for a different segment here. Brad, my biggest surprise is that like scoring is holding steady. Like, if you go to the Sweet 16 and we're getting 70 games, 80 games, 80 games. We have Alabama and BYU combining for 200. Like, you talk about people are watching these games, what's going on? When you go to the NBA and you see a score that's 135 to 130, you're kind of a little bit turned off by that. It's like, I don't care so much about this. But like, yeah, we have our defensive stalwarts in our Houstons, in our Tennessees, and that's the kind of game they're going to play. But styles make fights, and I think that for as much, I can't believe they sent Louisville here, and I can't believe Gonzaga is an 8. Like, you have to pat the selection committee on the back sometimes. I think the biggest surprise, Brad, they got it right. Like, oh, there's no underseeded teams winning. Well, doesn't that mean they did a good job?
Yeah, that's an interesting angle. I know a lot of people we thought it was kind of good across the board. When the bracket first came out, our first reaction was like, ooh, we got some interesting matchups. We got some potential interesting future matchups as well. And people come out and they're like, actually, well, this does this. On the first glance, you and I both thought this, like, they did a pretty good job. I mean, putting Carolina in there was a complete joke, a travesty, and probably I mean, West Virginia's trying to sue the freaking NCAA or the committee or whatever they're trying to do.
Ole Miss would have ran through them too.
Biggest surprise for me, Tyson. I'm going to point to a team. BYU impressed me. And this is the first year under the head coach, Kevin Young, right? Coming from your guy, I mean, he was on the bench for the Suns. They beat a VCU team that I thought was really good. Now, for some reason, I just overrate every single team that comes out of that conference. So that's on me, folks. But then they outscored a Wisconsin team, and they really dominated that game. That 91-89, it was not that close. It was a late charge by Wisconsin. And then they got completely blown away by Alabama, and they weren't prepared. But I think in a first year of like a complete reset of that program, the Mark Pope leaves, and it's kind of operating the same way. Oh, high-powered offense. But they were running sets that was really futuristic. Or if we're talking about college basketball, bringing a ton of NBA stuff. They're going to have the number one recruit coming in next year. We'll see how that happens and if they can kind of handle a one and done. Now you got an NBA guy. I think it's different than when Steve Pikiell at Rutgers brought in too.
Right.
But BYU was the biggest surprise to me, and just how they kind of operated after Mark Pope left and kind of moving forward and really putting an emphasis on basketball. Yeah,
it'll be interesting once AJ gets it, because that Bama game was just a simple case of like, oh, we're going to play the same style games. I have guys going to the league. You have guys that are selling insurance once this is done. But now that once you get the projected number one overall pick in the NBA draft on campus, you can match up a little bit differently. So I don't hate that BYU selection at all.
Anything else that stood out? Biggest surprise we want to run through quick, but that there's a positive or a negative?
I don't really think so. I mean, there's not a ton here that like – I'm looking at my bracket, and this is just because I'm a genius when it comes to filling this thing out. But there was nothing that jumped off the page. Maybe the fact that Duke survived a 35-point Caleb Love game, because there's many a Duke team that would have killed. That might be something. But yeah, I mean, the officiating has been fine. Like, it hasn't ruined games yet. Like, it hasn't ruined the game.
True.
And so it's hard to like complain about that, or Illinois turning the ball over 20 times against Kentucky. Like, that's not surprising.
No, but I think the biggest disappointment, Tyson, for me is Iowa State again. The TJ Altenberger thing. You know what? When we do a bunch of college football stuff, and so if you're just a basketball fan and you tune in for us and you like college football, I encourage you to check us out in the fall and before. But I hate the perception about coaching. Well, this guy's a really good coach, and when it matters, and well, maybe people say that about my guy, James Franklin, but it's like, oh, well, it just always falls apart, right? And that's where I'm at with TJ Altenberger. Like, how many times we had a successful regular season? How many times is this supposed to be the year for Altenberger? How many times we can talk about, well, actually, and then you just can't deliver when it matters. And this was a year, and I know there was an injury, but you get just embarrassed by Ole Miss. It wasn't even close, and you're supposed to win that game. You really are. And you didn't compete. And so once again, I'm looking at everything, and this was supposed to be a run to the Elite Eight. You play a Michigan State team, and
they're the best team in the country before they got hurt.
It's ridiculous. And I know you got the injuries. That's not necessarily an excuse. I mean, you got a deep enough team where at least you can beat Ole Miss, who struggled all year and has one player, Padula. It's just once again just disappointing.
Well, first of all, that's on you for doubting an Ole Miss guy with a headband on. Like, did Marshall Henderson teach you nothing about what March is all about? My biggest disappointment is the Johnnies. Like, it just has to be. Rick Pitino in Rhode Island. This team doesn't have to get on a plane for a month and a half. And John Calipari walks into not your gym, but might as well be, and just says, let's roll the ball out and play. My guys are better than yours. And then he's making in-game adjustments, and Pitino's slow to react to some of these things. I think that this was, for a conference that has won the back-to-back national championships, yes, that was UConn, but the Big East as a whole, we kind of are looking at them now, and we're like, welcome to the table with the Power 5 stuff. Like, there's good teams throughout. And then for them to lose to Arkansas wasn't even underseeded. Like, that became a thing after they won a couple games and then played Texas Tech close. It's like, right. Oh, Arkansas should have been like a 6 seed. No, they shouldn't have. They were perfectly fine on the 10 line, and St. John should have got them out of there. And for a team that prides themselves on being physical and playing defense, to allow an Arkansas team to score 40 points in the second half and send you packing, like, it's disgusting.
I think two others quick hitters for me. Shaka Smart again. Marquette.
Are we still surprised?
No, not anymore. I mean, I'm just so over that whole thing. I feel bad because I like the guy. It's just whatever. It's so done. So done with it. And then the ACC. I mean, Louisville gets run off the court early and often against Creighton. That game's not even competitive. Clemson, just one of the worst performances you'll see. North Carolina, yeah, okay, you beat San Diego State, but again, that's a Mountain West team. We do not take them seriously in March. And then for the longest time, they were getting absolutely embarrassed by Ole Miss, try to make a comeback, and then they've been like, oh, look at North Carolina. That game, it's just embarrassing. So, of course, Duke has to carry the water again for this conference. And Tyson, a lot of it is because the ACC, I don't know what's going on in that conference. They do not take spending seriously when it comes to coaches.
Right.
They do not take spending seriously on the gridiron either, let's be completely honest. And they're getting run around. I mean, the SEC is being serious. They're like, okay, we're going to hire coaching. And what do you know? The SEC is the best conference ever. Big Ten for a while. It's like, okay, we're going to really focus on coaching. They did that this last cycle. And the ACC is just like, oh, we'll figure it out. You're a freaking basketball conference. What the hell are you doing? It's embarrassing. And I know there's a proposal to join the Big East if that or that kind of merge into a basketball conference. That's interesting. We'll talk about it if it happens.
That would suck.
But as it stands right now, it's just a complete sham. God, the ACC, what a disappointment again.
No, I think it's going to get worse. Like we got Hubert now actually has to have his own guys, and we'll find out. Like maybe trying to pigeonhole rosters around Baycott and some of these other guys that were holdovers. But now it's like it's your show, buddy. Like you're supposed to be the number 1 or 2 team in this conference. Clemson getting just out athleted was like, what is going on here? But like my other biggest disappointment probably, and I picked Drake to win this game, but the fact Missouri scored 57 points in the first round, like you're Missouri. What are you doing? And like, if you watch, like this is a team that beat Bama. Like they're giant killers on this roster. And some guys from Drake showed up and held you to 57 points. I thought that was disappointing. And then the biggest disappointment, we're so far removed from it now that I'm not disappointed anymore, but we didn't have Cinderellas because ball didn't go in the hoop. And we had all these teams that, oh, man, they can shoot the shit out of the basketball. And then the lights turned on, and it was like, oh, Michigan State just ran away from Bryant. Oh, Akron can't play with Arizona. Some of these other games.
Liberty gets blown out.
Liberty, UNC Wilmington, right? Like all we heard, man, these guys can score. And they did, but they didn't do enough to cause any upset. So, sure, you can be mad that there's no Cinderellas, but like, Ali Farouk made the shot, right? When we think about the Northern Iowa teams, and like nobody made them this year.
Yeah, High Point loses by 12, and that was
that's because they tried
circled.
To shoot. They might have won the game if they just kept going inside. They were like, we're playing a different brand of basketball than what got us here.
VCU loses by 9. That was a popular upset. Akron loses by 28.
Yep.
Liberty loses by 29. That was a popular one. Yeah, just go through it. You're right. And then UC San Diego was popular. They couldn't hit a shot for the longest time. Almost pulled off. Almost stopped in the tracks. The Michigan thing, that would have been crazy to think about how we view that. And Yale couldn't quite get it done too. I mean, so yeah, go. And Lipscomb just gets blasted by Iowa State. So yeah, like Tyson said, it's disappointing in terms of the Cinderella. Let's finish here. Best story, and then this could be. I mean, hell, is it Florida? What they do? Is it Houston? Is it Duke with the Shire thing, or is it some of these other guys? Maybe it's Amir Khan. How about him, McNeese? Is that it? Is that
Amir or a Khan, dude? I mean, come on. This guy just got an NIL deal to be a manager. He's following Will Wade around. That whole thing is crazy. I thought when I first started seeing those videos, I was like, this is the stupidest thing I've ever seen. And then they won a game, and it was awesome. So that was a huge story, but you're outside of your mind. You don't think it's Cooper Flagg. I mean, for real, it's got to be. I'm having people I don't even know that watch basketball texting me, this kid's supposed to be a senior in high school. Like, this is what's supposed to be going on right now. And he's pogo sticking out the gym to send a shot packing. He's turning and letting everybody know about it. I think that he's been the story, and I think Broom's been the story. I think the two best players in college basketball have carried their teams to this point in different ways. Like, I think Flagg he didn't even have to put the ball in the hoop in the first round, and he might not have had to in the last round, but his defense is elite. And then with Broom, it was just like against Michigan State, he just looked around and he was like, him? Like, okay, give me the ball. And I'm going to go out here. I'm going to get 30. And so I think that often in March, you hear your Seth Davis and some of these other guys that will tell you about how great these players are, because they are, and then they don't deliver. The fact that we're sitting here right now and it's like, oh, it's LJ Cryer, it's Walter Clayton Jr., it's Cooper Flagg, it's Janai Broom. That's what you wanted this whole time. Like, if Jace Richardson was here, I would be excited. because I would have been like, dang, I got Michigan State to the Final Four correct. But you have the best players in the country are represented here at the end, which is not the way this normally goes.
No, that's why this is my best story. I'm going full circle. It's the fact that we have this Final Four. These are the four best teams in the country, and people are pissed that they haven't lost. Why? Like you don't want Auburn to face Florida again. You don't want Duke to go in a rematch against Houston in the state of Texas with this Cooper Flag team, with the hungry Houston team who can maybe bang with them physically, but Duke's now not quite as soft. We talked on the broadcast about how John Shire remade this program mentally. This is what we want. This is what we're talking about. Like, and then if any other sport, when there's an upset and then we get to the final, it's like, well, is it really like, are these really the best teams?
Right.
Did the best team really win? And it's like it happens in college basketball. Like, just sucks. It's like, what are we talking about? The best story is the fact that we have the best teams. And we have the best Final Four on paper. Now, is that going to deliver the three best games, Tyson? I don't know. We'll have to watch. But it is the representation that we have in the sport where Cooper Flag, I think he's the best player in the country. Johni Broome the second. And Walter Clayton's probably the third. And all of them are playing in San Antonio with a chance to win a national championship. And you can't beat it. It's going to be drama off the charts.
Everybody loves the San Diego State until they have to play UConn.
And then you lose by 20. And then it's gross. And then we don't like it. So, all right, that's going to do it for us here. Like, subscribe, and share the show. Like Tyson alluded to at the beginning, we're going to have our preview episode, preview and picks coming out later. It's on Saturday. So before, right, it was like kind of midweek, getting you ready for Thursday. We got a gap now, right? Like we got a little bit of time. So we're going to be really taking a look at this thing. Not quite sure when that's going to come out, if we're going to have other content kind of sprinkled in. But we will have you covered as you get set for the weekend. We get 2 or 3 more basketball games before this college basketball season is over. We got you covered there. So that's why you got to stay subscribed so don't miss a single thing. Smash that like button on the way out if you're watching on YouTube. Give us a 5 stars if you haven't already in the podcast. And then share it with a friend, share it with an enemy, share it with somebody you don't like. Maybe you're mediocre with, maybe somebody you just met. Who knows? Maybe at the gym. You're like, yeah, let's talk some ball. We got this good podcast. I'll send it to you. So we appreciate your guys' support. As always, we'll talk to you guys soon. And until then, peace.